So here's to another PC hardware upgrade video. This is an ASUS P5V900 desktop machine and an HP monitor that I bought from Marktplaats for 25 euros. And as always, we are going to refurbish it and upgrade it to see if it is a PC worthy gaming machine rig. So the actual beauty is this gaming PC desktop rig from ASUS. What I reckon is that the previous owner had this ASUS desktop machine in a vanilla state in 2007 and loosely upgraded it to its own taste. There's a multiple card reader writer from the brand Sweex. I don't like Sweex. The ASUS DVD drive is still intact, that's the original one. So that's about it for the outside. How about the insides then? So on the inside you'll find nothing really much that's interesting. There's I'll get back to that. There's a stench coming from this PC desktop case. Inside you'll find a 3.5-inch standard drive. I think it's a standard 2700 RPM drive. A pretty simple ATX motherboard with a standard Intel stock cooler, 2 GB, which makes up 4 GB of RAM. This is a Radeon X700 Special Edition with 265 MB of video memory. Any power supply is just stock. So the stench what I was talking about, this PC has been in a smoker's house and this thing smells like cigarettes. Now I've been ventilating this desktop for about a week, but I need to clean up even more to get rid of the stench of nicotine. The other thing I got with this purchase is a 21-inch widescreen HP monitor. This also reeks of nicotine and cigarettes. Not as bad as the desktop, but still it smells. I like the fact that it has built-in speakers. It has VGA, DVI and an audio import. Although I like its features and the screen itself, it is a bit too bulky for me. It is something I will exchange in a thrift store for a smaller screen. And then the owner gave me all this crap. This is an old Ps2 keyboard from Microsoft. It is a good keyboard, but I don't like second-hand keyboards, and this one reeks of nicotine as well. It also came with a standard HP mouse, Ps2 compliant. I will not be using this, and some standard cables to get it all started up and connected.
I need to remove all the parts to even see what I can upgrade. This is a stock case, and it seems that previous users already had their hands on it. I removed both panels, so I can access that 3.5-inch hard drive. This is a Samsung 3.5-inch hard drive with 160 GB of storage and 2700 RPM speed. Out comes the 4 GB of RAM module, divided in 2 times 2 GB. That motherboard needs to be removed in order to clean the case. Another thing I want to upgrade is this MSI Radeon. I should have some other better PCI Express cards laying around. The motherboard itself looks in a pretty good state. It doesn't smell that bad of cigarettes, so the foul air should be coming mostly from the case itself. Taking off that stock Intel cooler should reveal the state of the CPU paste. It's changed color and is barely there after all those years, so I need to clean it up. Out comes an Intel Core 2 quad chip with 2.40 GHz clock speed. This is an LGA 775 socket, and I swear I have a tad better one laying around. I am going to replace the CPU with this one, an Intel Core 2 quad with 2.50 GHz clock speed. It's a tiny speed upgrade, but I'll take any speed increase. I cleaned up the socket and placed in the new CPU. To avoid using that stock cooler, I used this better one from Deepcool, a low profile one, which I first need to set up before installing. Some fresh CPU paste, and on goes the new CPU fan. I flipped the board so I can attach the endpoint screws to attach the fan securely. For good measure, I cleaned up the left behind dust with an air pressure can. Now before I want to place everything back in here, I'm going to clean up the case as much as possible with cleaning vinegar. This removes much of the oils, dirt, and best of all, the cigarette stench. One last go with the air pressure can to remove that leftover dust that this case has been collecting for 15 years. While I'm at it, I'll clean up the HP monitor as well with the same tactics for the same reason. This thing has also been sucking up cigarette smoke. Just be glad that you are not able to smell it. While I applaud the fact that some people are handy at improvising, I don't want cables to be held together with electric tape or iron wire strings from sandwich bags. In goes the I/O plate, which I can easily place back, with this case having enough room to work with. The next part is installing an SSD. I opt for the 3.5-inch bay. With an Intenso 120GB SSD to install the OS2. I secured the case, but to be frank, an SSD has no magnetic platters that might shock the drive, so this is a courtesy thing. Now it's just a matter of placing back all the power and data cables into the motherboard in the correct spots where they need to be. It shows that more than a decade ago, cable management wasn't a thing. The fact that I also don't have the original motherboard manual at hand is a bit annoying. Before ripping out the motherboard, I luckily took some pictures. You can also read most of it just off the motherboard with the printed initials, but I find this method to be a bit quicker. It also becomes clear that the previous owners didn't have all the cables fitted correct, like the LED power cables weren't properly placed, so it never turned on. And since it's me doing the cable management, I am doing this thing correct, which means tie wrapping the cables neatly as possible in such an older case. Back in go the RAM modules. I found this PCI sound card in my stash, which should provide better sound than the onboard module. It's too bad it's from Sweeks, but it will have to do. After browsing in my extensive collection of GPUs, I found this G210 with 512MB of video memory. This doubles the power from the card that was originally in here. And that's it for refurbishing and upgrading this ASUS case. It already looks and smells a lot better than before. Time to close it up and see what the performance is now with those upgrades. So pushing the power button powers on the machine, but doesn't give any image. This problem is something I came across before with the Lenovo R60 laptop that I upgraded. It's because of the fact that the CPU I swapped isn't compatible. So I reverted back to the original CPU, and it gave an image, but the post message screen was loading up super slow. I mixed things up in the BIOS, swapped out the RAM modules for different ones. I gave up and decided let's have another look at this tomorrow. And what do you know? The problem lay with the G210 being too modern, aka not compatible with the slower PCIe slot. Let's speed up the Windows XP install process. After the clean OS install, I went back to see if I could find another compatible GPU for that slower slot. This GeForce 6600 wasn't compatible, even though it had roughly the same specs as the original card. Even this older card from the same manufacturer, with lesser specs, didn't cut it. Then I found this GeForce 2600 with almost the same specs as the original card. It boasted 350 MHz clock speed instead of 400 MHz, which the original has. The advantage that this card has over the original is that it's fanless. I like things quiet. Windows XP gave the new hardware pop-up, and from this point it was just installing the correct drivers for this machine. But how does it fare with some 2007 3D gaming? Well, have a look. It runs things pretty much okay. Most games run fine at a lower resolution of 1024 by 768. Not the best, but decent. This is mainly because the motherboard can't handle the tad newer GPUs, and that is a bit of a shame. This rig isn't bad at all, but more suitable for 3D and 2D gaming before the 2007 era. I want to thank you for watching this video and these crazy upgrade journeys. If you liked this video, then perhaps you would like to see the other rigs that I upgraded. I'll leave a link in the description. Don't forget to like this video as it helps a lot, and even a subscribe is highly appreciated. And I'll see you on the next upcoming video.